So here's the proportional integral derivative controller, or the PID controller, with all the ramp up and ramp down functions that you could ever dream of using. Trying to keep the heating element at a nice 600 degrees. I'll put a link in the description to a fellow that I learned from on YouTube on how to build one of these. And he knows a million times more than I do as far as programming, but you can go watch his channel and you can build a temperature controller that'll run your fridge, your oven, your heating blanket, your kiln, your smelter. It'll do it all. And it'll do it pretty accurately if you want to program it. The link will be in the description. So here you can see the input power, 220 volt. I'm using a 220/110, so a 4-prong plug, so I can utilize it as a 110 volt or a 220 volt unit. There's your output power, which I have adapted to probably every different cord extension you could want. There's your voltage and amperage, and there's your programmable PID, or proportional integral derivative controller. I was going to use this, which is a pulse width modulation controller, but this has a feedback loop and I've already built it for other things, like I said, the glasswork, and it has a lot of functions that are really, really good. So we have it hooked up to this, which is just a stove outlet or element. And over here we have a K-type thermocouple, which will give the feedback loop to the PID to control the temperature. Alright, inside the PID controller, which I use for some heat treatment, pottery kiln work, soon to be used for glass or lamp work, you can set ramp times and temperatures, and it's a great system, and they're reasonably cheap to build. So this is the PID controller. The brains, you can program it, has a lot of different inputs and outputs, but we'll be using some of the simple ones. This is your display for amperage and voltage. Gives you an idea what's going on. Main power switch. And over here is your SCR, which is basically just a electronic relay that can switch on and off super fast without wearing out like a magnetic starter would. That's all that's inside the box, and a cooling fan, and that's all you need. So let's take a look. Now the nice thing about the PID is that you can have it basically learn so that it doesn't overshoot. The heating element here is basically a nichrome wire surrounded by stuff inside of a shell, so it's protected, and it can take your elements and pots and pans. And so it tends to overshoot. It'll turn off the power, but it continues to get warmer, which is pretty normal. I'll just zoom up a little bit on the displays. That's the first alarm I have set at 300, but it has multiple alarm functions you can set, and you can set ramp time and soak time. So if you're annealing glass, you can have it go down to a certain temperature and then stay there for 4 hours and then go to another temperature. Same as heat treating metal. And you can have it learn the heating elements, and you'll notice that the light here is the output, and it'll click on, and then you'll see the amperage that it's consuming, and it'll turn it on and off so that it can not overshoot too much. It's all completely programmable. You've got a billion pages of different functions you can utilize. And this is what I plan on putting inside the vacuum chamber so that we can control the heat of the zeolite when it's in a vacuum. I can't say enough good stuff. It wasn't too difficult to program. They're not difficult to build. And as soon as it finds its way up to 500 degrees, she'll just stay there, or to whatever temperature you want to program. The pulse width modulation controller I was going to use, but it doesn't have a feedback loop, so you would have to adjust the temperature all the time. And in the vacuum chamber, as it's losing its liquid, as it's boiling off any of the water that's inside the zeolite, you would have to be adjusting the temperature to compensate, where this one will just do it for you as long as your thermocouple is inside the medium that you're trying to heat up. The nice thing about this setup is you can hook it up to whatever you want, from a heating blanket in your bed to melting aluminum. You can hook up whatever probe you want, program the probe into it, and set the temperature. And now it'll try and keep it at 500 degrees. You can also set its min-max to how far you want it to bump above and below, but basically it's going to try and keep it there now. Anyhow, I thought I should probably give a little update on the heating system we're going to use inside the vacuum chamber for regeneration of the zeolite, so you have some idea what we're doing here. But these things are super handy to build for all sorts of things. And if you want to change the temperature, that's easy enough. You just change the set point. And she will clue in a second here, and she'll ramp up now and try and keep it at 516.3 degrees. It runs a solid state relay, or an SSR, because it can click on and off thousands of times in a day, and it's not going to wear out like a regular magnetic relay is going to. So that's the reason that they run those. Anyhow, that's the heating system that we're going to utilize inside of the vacuum chamber, and I finally get around to hooking it all up and putting it inside. So, thanks for watching.